What is going on in East Lansing? That's what everyone wants to know after some big names hit the portal. But could it be just something that was best for these players and nothing to do with the Spartans football program? Last weekend, right at the deadline, Michigan State had multiple players enter the transfer portal, and it wasn't the usual suspects of third stringers and walk-ons. You had cornerback Charles Brantley, quarterback Payton Thorne, and wide receiver Keon Coleman all enter the portal. Brantley quickly withdrew his name and announced that he's headed back to East Lansing. But the quarterback and wide receiver still remain available on the market. Somewhat. Thorne was the quarterback of the 2021 11-win team. His ceiling was obvious in last year's failed 5-7 campaign as he completed 62.5% of his passes. He had 19 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Yes, he is the incumbent starter for the Spartans, but there had been whispers that Noah Kim was outplaying him in practice. And in the spring game, you could kind of see it. Kim obviously had, the 4 or 5 best passes on the day. He showed touch, accuracy, etc. Thorne was slightly more consistent, but there's a ton of potential with Kim that Thorne just doesn't have at this point. So if we've reached a point where Kim was likely to be the starter, this makes absolute sense for Thorne to look elsewhere, especially with several big programs still needing quarterback help and potential starters, which is exactly why he announced that he is transferring to Auburn this morning. I'm not sure what I think of Thorne and Hugh Freeze's offense, but I do think he's a better passer than anybody that they've got on the roster right now. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Dave Aranda at Baylor is lauded for telling his incumbent starter last year, or 2 years ago, Jerry Bohannon, that he would likely get more playing time somewhere else, and he did at USF. But in this situation, it happens with Mel Tucker, and everyone immediately starts to question what's wrong in East Lansing. But I digress. The one transfer that is going to sting is Keon Coleman. Basketball and football player, he was the most explosive playmaker on the team. He had 798 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns, along with averaging nearly 14 yards per catch. Now, Coleman is from Louisiana. He didn't get an offer from LSU when he was in high school. The talk is that Coleman wants to join the Bayou Bengals, but do they have room for him? I mean, that wide receiver room is absolutely stacked, even with losing Butte and Jenkins from last year. Obviously, a player like Coleman is somebody that you want on your team. Whoever gets him is going to be better for it, but we'll see if it's LSU. I mean, they still got Neighbors, Taylor, and Thomas all coming back, along with the younger guys behind them. Is it possible that Coleman could come back to Michigan State if they get NIL sorted? Possibly. But it looks more and more like he's going to be headed elsewhere. He's visiting Florida State this weekend. The Seminoles could certainly use another wide receiver to fill the role of transfer Micah Pittman. That was a wide receiver they were not planning on having to replace this year. Coleman's going to be visiting Auburn on Sunday. I mean, that makes sense if he wants to go play with his quarterback, Payton Thorne. Is it possible that Coleman just wanted to play with Thorne, and that's why he entered the portal to begin with? Here's the weird thing to me. There are a lot of reports that said that these guys didn't really want to leave East Lansing, but they had to in order to accomplish what they wanted. Like, what is it that they're trying to accomplish? Is it getting paid? Is it winning? Like, I would love to get some real details from the players on what they're looking for. But at the end of the day, I don't know that this necessarily means that there's anything really wrong with Mel Tucker's program. I think there's a lot to that idea. Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Make sure and follow me on Twitter at GaryWCE. If you want to toss in a question, you can email me, Gary@winningcureseverything.com. Make sure and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.